Hello, fabulous Sagittarius. Welcome to your horoscope for the year of 2015, Love Focus. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. This year is such an important year where it comes to people, where it comes to connections and relations. Now, this is true for all fire signs out there. For you, this becomes especially true in the context of love. And that's largely due to the fact that we have got Mercury retrograding through parts of the sky that have to do with other people, retrograding through parts of the sky that have to do with love, they have to do with your siblings, they have to do with your friends as well. And this becomes especially true with all of these people. Really, in some way, are speaking to and influencing your understanding of where you are in love and where it is that you desire to go and the connections that you're making as well. And that's largely thanks to Mercury being the ruling planet of your opposite sign. So this planet, your representative, or rather the representative in the sky of your opposite sign, which is about relationships, relating one-on-one, partnerships, is going to be moving through some very people-oriented parts of the sky for you. And you put this together and I'm just seeing lots and lots of talking, lots and lots of sharing and connecting, sometimes spontaneously, and also a deeper understanding of what agreements need to be made, what things need to be said before the relationship moves to another level or a different level as well. So, over the course of this coming year, January and February, we have a Mercury retrograde taking place in a part of the sky that has to do with friendship. In May and June, Mercury retrograde is taking place in your opposite sign. So this is really when love is going to become especially important and especially highlighted for you. And then later on in the fall, September, October, Mercury retrogrades in a part of the sky that has to do with your more immediate, spontaneous interactions. It has to do with how your siblings and cousins are helping you out on your journey to love, but also how they may be influencing and speaking to your own experience and your own perception of love as well. And then you add an additional element. And that has to do with the fact that in the month of September, we have an eclipse taking place in a part of the sky that has to do with love and romance and the feelings that love provides. It has to do with an awakening that takes place on a level of spirit and mind, and an awakening really that takes place on a level of body as well, which is something that anybody who's been in love or even infatuation could tell you. They talk about butterflies in the stomach. They talk about that awakening. When people go through a breakup, they feel very hurt as well. They can't eat. They feel that pit in their stomach. It's all the spectrum of love, and it all really comes down to understanding how our emotions and the elation that love provides is ultimately deeply connected to what's happening with us on a physical level as well. So you've got these key moments happening this year, but especially when I look at what is happening for you in the late spring and what is happening for you in the early fall, these really are going to be the key moments, the key time frames when you can expect lots of action and changes taking place for you. So with this particular Mercury retrograde set to take place this spring, because this is a love-focused horoscope, I will say this. There's an element here of renegotiating, an element here of rethinking who you are with and why. There's an element here of you, as I said, saying the things that maybe you've been resisting, or hearing the things that maybe you haven't admitted to yourself have been clearly stated all along. So there's an adjustment of perception taking place. Now, I gotta say, whenever there is a Mercury retrograde in this part of the sky, whatever decisions are made in the context of relationships tend not to be final, okay? Also, given the fact that we are gonna have Venus retrograde this year, and so Venus retrogrades is a rare phenomenon, about once every year and a half or so. And this time retrograding in a part of the sky that has to do with really the best of you, that has to do with what really matters to you, that has to do with letting new experiences in and connecting on a wider scale as well. Connecting with the earth, connecting with the people, connecting with the world, really. And so we've got Venus retrograding, moving around in this place, which ultimately has to do with interactions with people very different than yourself. You have got Mercury going backwards and forwards in your opposite sign. And so I put these together, and I gotta say, I do think that there's an element speaking here that says if you make any decisions in the context of love in the spring, they really are not going to be final. And really, I do think that, especially in terms of breakups, those breakups are not likely to last very long. Now, that doesn't mean that any breakups aren't rooted in real concerns, but that stuff is going to be healed and aired out, and forgiveness will come about a little bit later on over the course of the summer. With Venus, I gotta say, Venus enters shadow in June, retrogrades late July into August, goes direct in September, and leaves shadow in October. So we've got this huge chunk of time where the Mercury retrograde is going to be speaking to all of us, asking us to go back over old ground. And this is you going back and looking at how your beliefs, your perceptions have shaped what decisions and what you perceived over the course of the Mercury retrograde period in the spring. So those of you who are in an established bond, this energy seems to play out in a very dominant kind of way. I just see this a time of having to talk a lot of things out. And then once we get you to, in the spring, talking a lot of things out, information coming out, not really being sure what's what, having different perceptions on it, getting different perspectives on it as well. And then the healing and the forgiveness and deciding which way you're going to go is going to take place during Venus, really, while Venus is doing her dance, going in shadow and retro and shadow over the course of the summer and into the fall. Those of you who are dating somebody, so it's not necessarily an established bond, but rather you're dating somebody, I do think that there is sort of a lot of talking that needs to get done is what it really comes down to. And there's an understanding here of what do you really want in a bigger sense, also playing out with the Venus retrograde. But I gotta say, as part of this, I just see, it's almost as if, I'll be honest, if you're just dating somebody, you may actually surprise yourself with a bit of a restless spirit that shows up for you thanks to Venus and where Venus is going to be, and questioning if there aren't more options out there for you before you commit. So that is an exploration you are going to have to take. Some Sagittarius out there might feel like they want to rush into commitment or might feel pressured into commitment during the Mercury retrograde phase. However, once we get you just a little bit further down the road, you'll get to be more honest with yourself of the deeper implications, and wherever it is that you need adjustments to be made, that will become evident to you. Those of you who are open to love, who are looking for a relationship, open to love, by far, I think that the eclipse that is going to take place in September is going to be such an important month for you. It really is a time when someone could just appear out of the blue. It could be a whirlwind romance that comes, but it could go just as quickly as well. And so in order to sort of stabilize the energy, now here's the interesting thing. Venus will go direct in the month of September, really right around the time that Saturn will re-enter your sign. So Saturn will be out of your sign, will be in your sign for most of the year, but out of your sign from June to September. And it is in the month of September that Venus goes direct. Saturn enters your sign for good, or at least for an extended stay, rather. And once this takes place, I do find that it's going to be a really interesting sort of dichotomy playing out for you, because on the one hand, you have this eclipse taking place that wants to get carried away, wants to get caught up in something, and wants to feel alive thanks to love, wants to feel passion thanks to love. You've just had Venus sort of doing her dance, Venus standing still in the sky, very passionate time to be taking place. So Venus standing still, a really harmonious place, very compatible fire sign as well. Passions are really high for you, wanting new experiences, very likely to meet somebody new, and yet Saturn in your sign is telling you to think big picture. It's saying, okay, wait, hold on a little bit. What are you seeing here? How far do you feel comfortable going? Now, ultimately, the things that you choose are completely up to you, but just know that there is something about the experiences you are going to attract, particularly in the month of September, that will, in the bigger picture of your life, create greater stability. They may lead to greater love with the person who is involved, with the person that you meet, with the attraction that you have. If not, then they will prepare you for something bigger and brighter. And actually, just to give you a little bit of a heads up, I do think that 2016 is an amazing year for love as well. But really this year, there are a lot of strong moments as well, whether you're in love or partnership or dating or meeting someone as well. March and June, very special months as well, because in those months we have Jupiter, your ruling planet, speaking in supreme harmony with Uranus in the part of the sky that has to do with love as well, where the eclipse is going to take place in September. So lots of supportive energy there for meeting people, having interactions, getting your flirt on, at the very least getting your flirt on, and allowing yourself to engage with joy and life and creative energy in a way that you had not allowed yourself to before. One thing that I absolutely love about this year for you is that there is fun on offer thanks to love. And even with all the talking, and even with some of the serious energy and not really being sure and talking things out and feeling a little like, oh my God, we're talking about it too much, can we stop now? I do think some Sagittarius out there, particularly those in an established bond, are likely to feel that at some point this year. But for all that, it does look like you certainly are moving in a direction where it is about joy, it is about being lifted, and actually it is about being inspired by the experiences that only love can provide. Being inspired by love, what it is right now in your life and what it promises itself to be.